Hello everybody, this tutorial is going to be a review of importing contacts, a little more in depth in how we import contributions and also relationships. So I have my sheet over here with my sample data. I have at the bottom my contact info for individuals. I'm actually going to rename this individuals. I have my contact info for couples. We're going to see that the import method is a little bit different. Addresses as well. I have that separated. It's not necessary to have addresses separated, but the data that I had originally was separated the address from the individual, so we're going to keep it like that. Ideally, you'd probably have the address included in your contact info sheet. And then finally, we're going to import contributions. So I'm first going to go look over the data. I see that the first column I have my contact ID because this data is coming from an old system. Each record had an ID associated with them, and I want to keep this ID. It's going to be helpful for me. Then we have the prefix. We have the first name, middle name, last name, nickname, job title, gender. All these things are pretty straightforward. Always a good idea to fill out genders in the spreadsheet. It's so much faster, and you need to have the genders so that the joint greetings between husbands and wives get created properly. So try to fill out your genders before importing your data. It's best practice. Birth date. So when it comes to date, we have to make sure to format our dates and to keep everything consistent. So I'm going to highlight this and then go into format, number, and then date. I'm going to select this one. This one's fine. So it's going to be month, day, year, and no preceding 0 before months that are before October. So then we have the is deceased column to record if the person is deceased. And if yes, we have the deceased date. Again, a date, I have to make sure it's formatted consistently with the other dates on the sheet. So I'm going to go to format, numbers, and select this one. Then I have my communication preferences, do not mail, do not phone. And anybody who has a number 1 is going to be checked off for this item. So this person will get checked off as do not email. We have do not phone, do not mail, do not SMS is opt out, meaning they don't want to get any email from you. And then finally I have organization name. So anybody of these people who's tied to a business, I'm going to have here. I'm going to sort this sheet so I can see all the organization on top. And I'm going to add an ID for these organizations because IDs are going to let me look things up later. So this is how I add an ID. I'm just going to hit the equals, put 2 quotation marks, put an O for organization, and then I'm going to do and I'm going to check off the contact's ID. So if ever I'm curious about, something got messed up and I don't know who this organization relates to, I could see that he's related to contact 150, and I could go back and look at the sheet, and contact ID 150 will tell me who this organization belongs to. I'm just going to drag this down, apply it everywhere, and my sheet is basically ready. So I'm going to go ahead and import this sheet into the CRM. I'm going to go to contacts, import contacts. Oh, first thing I have to download it, of course. So let me go ahead and do that. I'm going to download the sheet as a CSV specifically. Let me show you that one more time. Comma separated values, CSV. I'm going to go back to my import wizard found in contact, import contacts. And I'm going to choose the file I'm importing, which I just downloaded. So I'm going to hit downloads, and this is sample data individuals. My first row contains column headers. That is correct. If you look at the first row in my sheet, it is column headers. It is not actual data. So I check that off. What type of contact am I importing? It's individuals. For duplicate contacts, right now I'm not going to select. I'm just going to skip duplicates because I don't have duplicates. I don't have any contacts in my database. But if you did have duplicates that if you wanted to check for duplicates, you would click either one of these options. So update would use the data in your spreadsheet to override anything in the CRM, and fill would only put in the data from your spreadsheet if there's nothing there in the CRM. So let's say you're importing David Smith, and David Smith already exists in your database, and in the spreadsheet you have a birthday, but in the CRM you don't, so it will actually fill in the birthday field. But if David has already his name in the CRM as Dave, and you're importing him as David, it will not override Dave, it'll leave him as is. So that's fill. Fill is just fill in the blanks. Update is anything that's there, either fill it or replace with what is on the sheet. Then you have to tell the system how to check for duplicates. Email would be a very wide rule, that anybody who has the same email address, consider them a duplicate and match them together. If you want to be more specific and mitigate for the case where the husband and wife might be using the same email address, you might use name and email, and then it would check both the name and the email before determining whether it's a duplicate or not. So again, we're skipping this, and I have to now select my date format. So if I look over here, I have month, day, year, and no zeros trailing, and 4 characters for the year. So let's go back to here and let's look at this and try to find month, day, year. Okay, this could work, but we only have 2 for the year, so that doesn't apply. Let's look at this one. Month, day, year, we have 4 for the year. This is good. Now we have to make sure that it could work. You see over here, it could work with no zeros trailing. So I'm going to select this option over here. This is what matches my sheet. And I'm going to click whether I want to geocode these addresses during import. It's not a big import. I'm going to do it. If it's a big import over 200 contacts, I would not do it. But for small import, it's totally fine. So let's click continue. Okay, so now I put in the settings for my contact import. I'm just going to match the fields now. So I'm importing a contact ID, so I'm going to match this in the CRM as external identifier. There's going to be a code that's going to relate to my old database. Prefix, I'm going to select individual prefix, and you could type these out rather than go through the long list to select them. First name it found, middle name it found, last name it found, nickname it didn't find, so let's do this, nickname. Job title it found, gender good, birth date perfect, is deceased. Okay, I selected deceased date, do not mail. So do not email, over here do not phone. So over here we have the do not mail option. Let's look for that. And then underneath do not SMS. And over here is opt out. So let's look for opt out. Okay, I don't recall what this field is called, and I'm just going to skip it for now. So if you want to skip it, you just select do not import, and that's enough. Organization name. Now, the organization is going to be created as a separate contact. So I can't just select organization name. I have to first select the relationship between the organization and the contact. So I'm going to say that the contact is the employee of, and then it's going to give me another option, and over here I'm going to type in organization name, and then over here I'm going to do the same thing, employee of. Over here I'm going to type in external identifier, because that's the external identifier for the organization. So this is really how you import any relationship. It would work the same for a spouse, and we're going to do it again for the spouse as well. And this is how you would do it. So everything's matched up correctly. I can save this mapping field, which I will. In case I need to redo it, I don't have to select all these options again. The mapping field means the selected options for each row, each column of the spreadsheet. So I'm going to call it contact import and hit continue. All right, so this is just a little summary, a preview. We have 148 rows, 148 of them are valid. It's giving me a sample of it, what they're matched to. At the bottom over here, I have options to add these contacts to a group. So I could look at my existing groups and like, I don't have a group I like. So let me create a new group. We'll call it contact list, and I'll make it a mailing list as well. And so this will automatically create this group and add all these contacts to the group. I can also create a tag and add these contacts to a tag. I can make them volunteers, and then also create a new tag. Let's call it import 2020. And I'll hit import now. Okay, so here we go. We have total rows 148, and it's giving me an error that I have 134 mismatched rows. So I'm going to download these and I'm going to see what the error is. And total contacts that were imported were 28, and imported into groups, we have all the contacts imported to group. So let's look at our list. So we see I have 165 contacts. So let's look at our error, because our error told us that we have, that most of them didn't get imported. So let's see what happened. So the first column tells me which line of my spreadsheet was in error, and now here I'm going to look at the reason. And the reason is related contact required fields are missing, and this is talking about the organization, because if you recall, I'm going to put this down over here. My sample data sheet didn't have organization data for all the contacts, just for some. So for whoever it didn't find information, it spit out an error and it told me, wait, you're missing information for these. However, I don't mind. It imported everybody the way I wanted, and so I don't need to worry about data being missing. Everything got imported correctly. I could see over here, this is the deceased contact. This is the ones with the icon are the living contacts. Let's open a profile real quick. Okay, so here we have our basic data. We see that he was tagged with our volunteer tag and with the new tag we created. He's a male. We have his birthday, and we have all information that was for this contact. I could look at it at his groups over here as well, and his tags. So the import was a success. I can also look at my organizations if I want to. I'll go to search, find contacts, and look for organizations to see if they came in correctly. And that looks like it's the case. All the organizations came in. So let's open this up. Here we go. I see the organization name and the external ID, and then I could see who they're related to. And so that's the initial import. So we're going to continue in the next video with the relationship between husband and wife, and then we're going to continue and do the financial data as well.